What's going on, everybody? I was not really expecting to make this video because I was kind of out on the Cowboys season. Not that I've completely given up. The defense has been so bad that it doesn't feel like a trade is going to be in the works for this team, or Jerry and Schottenheimer. Like, they're just going to kind of play the best that they can on defense, try to figure it out, put the pieces together, and then maybe make a run at the back half of the year. That was until I saw Adam Schefter talking about guys that are potentially on the market that teams would be interested in, or teams would be interested in moving. Jerry Jones' comments about this team having ammunition to make a trade. And then Brian Schottenheimer's pretty interesting comments about the running back room. Who is the running back 2 behind Javonte Williams? So let's not waste any more time and talk about some Cowboys trade targets. Let's get into it. Jerry Jones had some interesting comments, and he always does. I mean, anytime Jerry talks to the media, he always says something, kind of beats around the bush, and his comments about a potential trade were pretty noteworthy. If there is a trade to help the defense, we're in position to make that trade. That doesn't mean we're going to make one, but we certainly had in mind when we started this season that we were going to have ammo to be more flexible in terms of what we do with the roster as we move along the year. And if you've been a Cowboys fan for literally any length of time, you know by now that Jerry is the king of word salads. He will say a whole bunch of stuff without saying much of anything and just kind of go in a complete circle of, yeah, we can and we would, but, I can't guarantee that we will, but we do have the ammunition for it. It's the best thing for media attention. I don't take much from what Jerry says. The fact that he's at least aware that this team does have the trade capital to make a move, and maybe they've talked about it in the building, is pretty noteworthy here. And I probably wouldn't have made this video, though, if it wasn't for Brian Schottenheimer's comments yesterday during a press conference. He was asked about Phil Mafah, and if the coaching staff would be interested in using him as the running back 2, maybe instead of Jaden Blue, if he was in the plans at all. And this is what Schottenheimer had to say.
What guy y'all want to open the practice window for?
We're talking about different things. Again, Phil's been, doing good with all his rehab and things like that, and a lot of things that we like about Phil. But there's other options out there potentially as well, and we're keeping all those options open.
That's a really interesting way to word not really being sold on Mafah as the running back 2. There's a lot of options out there, and we've talked about them. What do you mean you've talked about them like as a trade target, as like guys that are still in the market? I mean, I can't think of any running back names that are free agents that would come in here and make a really big difference, but you did lose Miles Sanders for the year to lower body injuries. Jaden Blue hasn't really been the player that we all expected him to be up to this point. Does that mean that Dallas is looking for a running back? And this trade targets video was going to mainly focus on the defense until those comments. So let's just go over a couple of names that Adam Schefter talked about in his ESPN report for running backs that could be available. And then I threw a name in there that I really liked as well. The first name on this list, Breece Hall from the New York Jets. He's been heavily tied to Dallas for as long as I can remember. He's an obvious name because he plays for the New York Jets. They haven't been very good this year. They're 0-6, and they could be a seller in this trade market. He's an interesting name. He still has some really good speed, explosiveness. Dallas just saw him against the Jets a couple of weeks ago in that game. Fumbles are an issue, and they have been an issue in the past for Breece Hall. Overall, he's a really good player. He would be a one-year rental. This is the back end of his rookie deal. It's not something Dallas would be tied to long-term. It would be interesting to see what the Jets value him at trade-wise, but it would be a pretty exciting addition next to Javonte Williams. The second guy on this list is Alvin Kamara. Now, this is not the same player that we saw 4 or 5 years ago when he was killing the league with Drew Brees. He does have a large cap hit coming up. He's locked into his deal until 2027 with the Saints. So you would get this year and next year. The Saints have an $18 million cap hit with him next year, and then the void years that they love to add to the back end of those contracts. That's something that you would have to figure out with the money. What would the Saints be willing to eat? What would you be willing to take on for your cap hit for a running back that is at the back end of his career? I'm not really sure I'm as interested in Alvin Kamara as other people, but he is a name worth mentioning. The third guy on this list, Devin Singletary. And I'm just going to tell you guys straight up, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm not really interested. I could honestly see Dallas being interested because he is literally Miles Sanders at this point in his career. He's not great. He's not really a good running back anymore, but he is trustworthy and dependable. Now, the third guy on this list was not mentioned in Adam Schefter's guys that could be available or anything like that, but I wanted to talk about Devon Achane because he's on a Dolphins team that also isn't very good, has been talked about as potential sellers during this trade market with their edge players that we are going to talk about, but he's just a phenomenal player. You want to talk about a guy that would be a change of pace back, but could also carry the load offensively if Javonte Williams got roughed up at the beginning of the game. Like Devon Achane, you can do so many things with him, throwing him the ball out of the backfield, handing it off to him, outside toss runs. Like this guy is elite. I don't know if the Dolphins would be interested in moving on from him, but I had to talk about Devon Achane because that would be a ton of fun. The next group on this list is the defensive ends or defensive linemen. And the first name we got to talk about is Trey Hendrickson. He's on an expiring deal, a one-year deal with the Bengals. The Bengals probably aren't all that interested in signing him long-term. That's why he got a one-year deal or a one-year extension this year. This is the most obvious name for teams that think they are contenders that need pass rush help. Hendrickson is 12th in the NFL in pass rush win rate and has 4 sacks with a 15% pass rush win rate, which is right up there with Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett. This is one of the very few of the guys that could potentially be available that is a legit needle mover. A legit pass rusher with really good production, has been really good throughout his entire NFL career, that would instantly upgrade your edge room. He would make your pass rush better just by his presence on the field because he's a guy you got to worry about. He can win his one-on-one opportunities and give other guys across the defensive line opportunities to win their reps. I would be so down for Trey Hendrickson on the Cowboys. That is what this defense is really missing. Obviously, you would have to do some other things because you have problems on the defensive interior as well. With the deal expiring, maybe being a half-year rental, the offer would likely have to still be strong. Dallas would have to give up some trade capital, but it wouldn't be like the Packers trading for Micah where they had to give up 2 first-round picks and pay him $47 million just to get him in the building. I love the idea of Trey Hendrickson in Dallas. The next guy, Keon White from the New England Patriots. He's a young rotational edge guy. The Pats seem like they're kind of ready to move on, a new coaching regime. This isn't somebody that Mike Vrabel drafted. He's obviously not to the level of a Hendrickson or anything like that. He's not in the top 20 in the NFL in pass rush win rate. I don't even know if he has a sack so far this year. I probably should have looked at that before I recorded this video, but he's more a developmental guy, and I just don't think it makes sense to add another body, just another body, at defensive end for Dallas. Adam Schefter did mention him as a potential trade candidate, someone that the Patriots could be ready to move on from. The third guy, another veteran player, Cameron Jordan. You're going to find out on this list that the New Orleans Saints have so much dead cap hit money because of the void years that they put on their contracts. Jordan is no different. He's aging, and this would be the opportunity for the Saints to offload some of that dead money at the back end of his contract. Obviously, Dallas isn't a team that likes to just take on a bunch of dead money. They like to keep their books very, very clean. But Cameron Jordan's an interesting name. He's not the player that he once was. He's an aging piece that maybe the Saints want a little bit of draft capital as he ends out his career. Shelby Harris, defensive tackle, Cleveland. He's on an expiring deal. Probably one of the more exciting and possible names on this list because he's a solid run defender. And for a team like the Cowboys that cannot stop the run, do not have a legit run-stuffing nose tackle, one tech, Harris would instantly upgrade that room. As much as I want Hendrickson because he can rush the passer, you got to stop the run first because teams are going to make you stop the run because Dallas hasn't really proven that they can do it yet. After that Panthers game, every single NFL team is going to think they can come in against you and play and run the ball down your throat. Having that defensive tackle, that big body on the interior, Shelby Harris, would definitely help that problem. It might not fix it, but it would help. And I'm going to combine these next two, Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips. Chubb is a veteran pass rusher, was extremely productive a couple of years ago, had the injury in 2024, hasn't really been the same player this year. He's about to be on the wrong side of 30 years old, but much like a lot of guys on this list, going to have a really big cap hit that the Miami Dolphins might just be ready to move on from. Now, he's a good player, but he's not a premium pass rusher. You're not just going to find those guys on the trade market unless it's Hendrickson, who's on an expiring deal and the team doesn't want to extend, or in the case of the Cowboys, Micah Parsons. Chubb's teammate, Jalen Phillips, a younger player, probably with more upside moving forward. Also coming off an injury, he hasn't been as productive this year. At one time in the league, he was like an 8.5, 9.5 sack guy. It's kind of dwindled over the past couple of years, and then you look at the Miami Dolphins defense this year. They can't stop the run. They can't really rush the passer, and his numbers have taken a dip. Those are names worth mentioning, but I wouldn't be super excited if Dallas got it, because we're not looking for another body in the defensive end room. We're looking for a difference maker, and it feels like the names on this one were Trey Hendrickson, Shelby Harris. Those guys probably make the most difference. Arden Key, capable rotational pass rusher. You don't really need that. So let's go ahead and move on to some more defensive players. Before we continue with me ranting about the Cowboys, I want to tell you about something that does make me happy, and that is Sleeper, the sponsor of the channel for the past couple of weeks of the season. They're going to be the channel sponsor for the rest of the season. Sleeper is a ton of fun to play. It makes Sundays a lot more enjoyable, and I wanted to give you guys a couple of plays. This week, I'm not going to go with any Cowboys stuff. They're too hard to predict, so I'm going to go with a over half an anytime touchdown for Ladd McConkey. The same thing for Jonathan Taylor. I got a feeling that the Colts-Chargers game is going to be a ton of fun. 2 touchdowns for those guys. And let's go ahead and throw in another play for Kyron Williams over half a touchdown. That means if we get it correct, it turns $5 into $27. Sleeper is a ton of fun to play. Their interface is incredible. And if you guys join today with code DoubleMove, you get a 100% deposit match up to $100. That's right, DoubleMove, a 100% deposit match up to $100. Now, let's get back into the video. I was going to do cornerback and linebacker and this and that, but there's just not a ton of names out there on the open market because contending teams and even bad teams, they want to keep their cornerbacks around. They want to keep these premium positions around. And linebacker is not just an easy position to find for a defense. As we see with the Cowboys, you don't have good linebackers, you can really struggle. The same thing with defensive tackle and defensive ends. Teams just aren't ready to move on from them. Some guys that Adam Schefter mentioned, and I actually added Demario Davis myself. I'll talk about that in just a minute. Tariq Woolen has started games for the Seattle Seahawks. He's been mentioned a ton of times in trade rumors and potential targets for other teams. Tariq Woolen is more so a bump and run man corner, long, lanky, strong, bully receivers, get his hands on passes, and I just don't see where that fits with what Matt Eberflus wants to do. They need a zone cover corner with route recognition and communication, and I'm just not sure that that is Tariq Woolen. He's a get up in your face, bully you at the line of scrimmage, knock you off your spot, and that's just not really the player that Dallas is looking for. Roger McCreary from the Tennessee Titans. I think this sounds like the most Cowboys trade of all time, and not because it's a needle mover this year and it's going to make your team exponentially better, but because of where McCreary was drafted back in 2022. He was a second-round pick, kind of fallen off with the Tennessee Titans. He started 17 games his rookie year, started just 11 in 2023, 7 in 2024, and has started 1 game so far this year in 2025. He does have 1 interception, but he just hasn't proven that he's worth that second-round pick. Dallas, if they offered a 6th and the Titans were like, sure, we're ready to move on, they would jump on that in a heartbeat. Not because it makes your team better, but because they probably liked him pre-draft and they think it's getting a steal and it's upgrading this position, which I wouldn't mind another body in the cornerback room because they need them. Like, I don't really want to see Kyer Elam or Bridges out there on the field. If you wanted to add another cornerback body, sure. I don't think it helps you or moves the needle at all in 2025. It just seems like the most Cowboys move of all time. But you want me to tell you a needle mover, and that's why I had to put him on this list. I don't know if he's going to be available. The Saints are not very good. They're 1-5. Kellen Moore's the head coach, a new regime, trying to kind of find their way around here. Demario Davis is 36, 37 years old, still playing unbelievable football. He has a ton of run stops. He doesn't miss a ton of tackles. He's that Mike linebacker that Dallas really, really needs right now, that communicator, that veteran presence on the defensive side of the ball. Like I said, I don't know if the Saints would be all that interested in moving off of him. They are 1-5. They have a relationship with the Saints head coach in Kellen Moore, and I believe they should be in the market for a linebacker. Your linebackers are not good enough right now with Kenneth Murray, Jack Sanborn. They don't have the veteran presence. They don't have the recognition, the speed to read, react, get downhill, knife through the offensive line, tackles for loss. Demario Davis on a 1-year deal, a veteran guy that's probably towards the back end of his career, but still playing at an exceptionally high level, should definitely be an option. So let me know what you guys think. Are any of these names interesting to you? Are you expecting Dallas to make a move? And if they do you think it's going to be a needle mover move? Or is it going to be something like, okay, we had a high grade on this guy. He was a 2nd round pick, but we had a 1st round grade on him. We're getting him for a 6th. What do you think they're going to do? And I probably should have put this at the beginning of the video because I think it's a really important piece. If Dallas is going to trade for someone, they need to make more than that one trade. It needs to be a flurry of moves and flurry of trades to actually fix this defense, which is going to be really, really hard. It's hard, like, even if you bring in 2 or 3 guys, like, is that going to be enough to really change how this unit's playing? They're at the bottom of the league. I don't think it can get much worse. It really can only get better. 1 linebacker or 1 defensive tackle, 1 edge rusher, that's not going to do it. So if you're not going to make more than 1 trade, if you're going to make 2 or 3, I say pull the trigger on it. But if you're planning on just 1, don't do it. Keep your draft capital, rebuild this thing in 2026 and 2027. I actually just made a video on that, how the Cowboys could rebuild their defense with George Pickens. He's the key to rebuilding the Cowboys defense. I know it sounds weird, but click on the video that just popped up on your screen and watch that now. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. We're almost to 50,000 subscribers, guys. Please subscribe. All right. I love you all.